All right, today we're going on the hunt for a hidden enemy. It's a microscopic parasite, and for thousands of years, it's been silently causing one of the most devastating and, frankly, disfiguring diseases in the world. Its name? Wuchereria bancrofti.
Just let that sink in for a second. We're talking about an organism so small you can't even see it, but it's capable of causing permanent, irreversible damage to the human body. And this isn't some new threat. Nope, we've seen evidence of it going all the way back to ancient Egypt. And believe it or not, it's still a huge public health challenge today. So what happens if you're infected long-term? Well, you get a condition called lymphatic filariasis, which you might know by its more graphic name, elephantiasis. This is a disease that's not just physically disabling. The social stigma that comes with it can be absolutely crushing. And the crazy part? The whole thing kicks off with something as simple as a mosquito bite. All right, so here's our game plan. We'll look at this ancient, disfiguring disease, then unmask the microscopic culprit behind it. We'll get into the parasite's incredible double life, the war it wages inside the body, figure out how you even find this ghost, and finally, cover the global push to eliminate it for good.
So yeah, this disease is seriously ancient. We're talking evidence from the time of the pharaohs. But, our modern understanding, that didn't really kick in until the 19th century. It was kind of the golden age of parasitology, when scientists finally started this incredible hunt for the invisible ghost that was haunting millions of people. So, where does that crazy name, Wuchereria bancrofti, even come from? Well, it's actually a shout-out to two key guys. First, you've got Otto Wucherer. In 1866, this German doctor in Brazil found these teeny-tiny worm-like larvae in a patient's urine. That was clue number one. Then, 10 years later, an English surgeon in Australia, Joseph Bancroft, finds the other piece of the puzzle, the long, thread-like adult worms, just chillin' deep inside a patient's lymphatic system. And boom, together they'd finally unmasked the enemy. Okay, so what is this thing exactly? It's what we call an endoparasite. That just means it lives its whole life inside its host. And this part is super important. It's a metazoan. That means it's not some simple single-celled protozoan. No, this is a complex, multicellular animal, a super specialized worm that makes its home deep inside some of the most delicate systems in our bodies. Now, what's really cool here is this table. It's basically the parasite's biological address in the tree of life. You can see it's a nematode, a roundworm, and it belongs to the Onchocercidae family. And let me tell you, that family is notorious. It's full of worms that get around via insects. So right away, this tells us we're looking at a long, specialized history, all designed for one single purpose, surviving inside a host like us. And that survival? Oh, it hangs on an absolutely incredible journey. This parasite basically lives a double life, and it needs two totally different hosts to pull it off, a human and a mosquito. If you take away either one, the whole chain of transmission just breaks. It can't continue. Okay, check this out, because this life cycle is a masterpiece of parasitic engineering. It all starts when a mosquito bites someone who's already infected. It sucks up their blood, and along with it, these microscopic larvae called microfilaria. Right, so inside the mosquito, these little guys develop for a couple of weeks until they're ready to infect someone else. Then that mosquito goes and bites another person. The larvae literally slip out and crawl right into the bite wound. From there, they travel to their final destination, the lymphatic system. That's where they grow up into adult worms, find a mate, and can live for years, releasing millions of new microfilaria into the bloodstream, all perfectly timed for the next mosquito to come along for a late-night snack. So once these worms set up shop, a long, slow war kicks off inside the body. But here's the twist, the really surprising part. It's not the living adult worms that cause the worst of the symptoms. No way. It's when they die that our immune system just goes haywire. For years, most people have no idea they're even infected. They feel totally fine. But on the inside, ultrasounds can actually show hidden damage is already happening, with the worms stretching out the lymphatic vessels. Then you get these acute attacks, bouts of high fever, really painful inflammation in the lymph nodes. This is often the body's massive freakout to a dying worm and all the bacteria it releases. And after decades of this happening over and over, all that inflammation and scarring can permanently block up the whole system. Fluid can't drain, it builds up, and that leads to the irreversible swelling we know as lymphedema and elephantiasis. This parasite's ability to survive for so long is absolutely no accident. I mean, it is a master of disguise. It's got this whole bag of tricks.
It uses something called molecular mimicry, basically wearing a camouflage cloak of molecules that look just like our own. It knows how to hit the mute button on the body's initial alarm bells right as it enters the skin. And the most clever part? It sends out these chemical signals that tell our immune system's main soldiers, our T cells, to just stand down. It creates the state of tolerance that lets it hang out for years.
So how on earth do you find an enemy that's this good at hiding? Especially one that pulls off this incredible vanishing act every single day. See, its larvae, the microfilariae, they only show up in your bloodstream at night. It's a phenomenon called nocturnal periodicity, and it's perfectly timed with when its favorite mosquitoes are out for a meal. It's a truly amazing adaptation, you have to admit.
I mean, for decades, getting diagnosed was a real pain. A technician had to draw your blood between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. at night. Then they'd have to painstakingly search for these tiny worms under a microscope. It was tough, and it was easy to miss infections. But today, oh, it's a whole new ballgame. We have rapid antigen tests. And the genius thing is, they look for stuff shed by the adult worms, not the larvae, so you can do the test any time of day. You get a result in minutes. They're the gold standard now and have totally revolutionized how we map and fight this disease. And that huge leap forward in diagnostics, it's fueled an even bigger revolution in public health. We're now seeing a massive global push, led by the World Health Organization, to wipe this disease out as a public health problem, forever. Yeah, this quote from the WHO really puts it all in perspective, doesn't it? A leading cause of permanent disability worldwide. This fight isn't just about a worm. It's about stopping people from becoming permanently disabled. It's about giving them a better quality of life and breaking this awful cycle of poverty that's so often tied to these kinds of neglected diseases. And you can actually see the impact of this global fight in some pretty unexpected places. You might think, oh, this is just a problem for tropical countries, right? Well, in our super connected world, that's just not the case anymore. Let's take the Netherlands. It's not a place where you'd expect to find this disease, but they still diagnose about 6.3 imported cases every year, mostly from travelers and migrants. But here's the good news. Just look at this trend. Back in the 90s, the Netherlands was seeing over 21 imported cases a year. But in the last decade, that number has plummeted to just over 6. And that, my friends, is no coincidence. It is a direct reflection of how successful these global elimination programs have been at stopping the disease right at its source. So how is the world fighting back? With a really powerful, multi-pronged attack. The absolute core of it is something called mass drug administration, or MDA. This is where whole populations in at-risk areas get treated with medicine that kills off those baby larvae and just stops transmission in its tracks. You combine that with vector control, getting rid of mosquitoes, and, so critically, helping people who are already sick to manage the disease and prevent any more disability. Just so you know, all the information we've gone over in this explainer was put together using a Gemini deep search. For anyone who wants to go even deeper and check out the research for yourself, we've put a detailed list of all our sources in the linked Notebook LM document. And that really brings us to the final big question. We've got dozens of countries that have already stopped transmission, and so many more are right on the edge of doing it. So you have to wonder, after literally thousands of years of causing so much human suffering, could we, right now, actually be the generation that sees the end of this ancient disease for good? Hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive, do us a favor and subscribe for more. We really want to know what you think, so drop your questions, your thoughts, all of it in the comments section below. Thanks so much for watching.